a sacrifice seduced for the altar of your vanity. A jealous, hungry God, craving praises of profanity. With bedroom dark and dine, and a deep mouth stained with wine, it drinks its fill. It was your mothers, not your brothers, that agreed to feed you poison. This egregious lack of choice indeed seemed fit to join your voice in, with lies disguised as prizes of reason and wisdom, with briberies of finery to weaken any criticism. Can the fly invade the blossom that devours it? A mouth that lies in wait for a gift of life to shower it.
Alright guys, welcome back. We're on session 116. Last session, you guys had made it to Pompeii. After weeks and months of planning, bargaining, budgeting, and dreaming, you traveled down well-kept roads. On the way, learning that Valerianus was a day ahead of you. Astartes had sacrificed some of his jewelry to pay for additional speed, and you guys caught up to him the night before the party was to officially begin. You got up to him in the city of Napolis, a short few hours away from Pompeii. He had taken refuge on a ship in a crowded harbor, and without any time to plan, you improvised a few things, but were unable to find a way to put him in any real danger or kill him. In the process, you were sighted by one of his ghouls, but you were quickly disappeared into the city. Later on, you made it to Pompeii and were introduced to the festival. You spent a night feeding outside the walls, and some of you feasted on the slaves that Helena provided. And you familiarized yourself with the town. The night of the formal reception, you dressed in your best clothing, specially made for the occasion, made your way to the Villa of Mystery. There you met your hostess, you've had many conversations, and you found a pair of art pieces that seem to have had a strange effect on Astartes. We ended the last game with Astartes coming out of a vision from a second art piece. So far, nobody knows what he experienced there. However, the horrific visions of enduring some of the worst and most vile acts that one human can do to another is sure to take its toll on his already fragile psyche. And that is where we're going to pick up. Astartes has gone away from you guys. He just needs some air, so he's exited the room and leaving you guys kind of looking around at each other like, what the hell was that? Now that things are starting to settle down a little, you have a chance to look around, explore. You have the house, the grounds, art, and people. The night is still less than half over, and many Cainites are still wandering around, although some have left to disperse throughout the city to look at the art and to do other things. Flavia, we're going to start with you. Immediately after Astartes has run out, someone very politely taps you on the shoulder.
Flavia turns around to see who it is.
It is one of the house servants. You recognize them immediately. And they very quietly, with a gesture, indicate for you to follow them and begin to back away.
Flavia is a little concerned that he's going off with this person. But she does so.
Okay.
Taking cautious steps forward.
You move into a room quite close by, and Helena appears seemingly out of nowhere and takes you by the elbow and begins to walk with you throughout the house. She seems to have done something. She's not quite as imposing as she was. You get the sense that she's holding herself back. She doesn't seem to have any kind of destination in mind, wandering aimlessly through the maze-like layout of this house, through room after room, with frescoes and artwork everywhere. And as you walk, she talks to you, and looks at you first off, and she says, "So, young one, what is your full name again?"
My name is Flavia, she says, and tries not to look towards Helena at all because of what happened last time. She was kind of afraid that she might fall into a trance again, so just keeps her eyes fixed ahead.
Just Flavia? No family praedonym? No last name? No family?
Um, oh, Celie, I don't believe that I had actually given her a full last name, just Katrina Flavia.
Ah, so Katrina is technically your first name. Flavia, your family praedonym. A common
My father,
practice.
my father's name was Flavius. But again, oh, Celie speaking, I really neglected to give them a family name, so I'll have to fix that at some point. My apologies for that.
Tell me about your sire. What was he like?
Mm, Marcus was a very intense man. I believe that he was much driven by hedonistic pleasures, fantasies that he enjoyed acting out with his future meals and myself. He seemed to think that no one really was above him. But I think that was mostly because he kept, oddly enough, to himself and had his own circle of friends. He didn't really get around very much. And it didn't really occur to me to ask myself why that was, but I just figured maybe he was a very introverted man. Though again, he was very extroverted when he would hold his feasts and banquets. So I guess he was really a paradox. Let's see. He could get quite violent if people didn't do what they were told, whether they were slaves or even his guests. He could lose his temper very quickly. And like I said, he just liked having things his own way. I'm actually glad he's gone. I don't believe that I could stand being in his company a moment longer. He had a tendency to devour people, and I don't just mean physically. I mean try to take over the way they thought, the way they acted. Like I said, very intense man, always trying to make everybody act the way he would have them act and think the way he would have them think. Didn't work out though till he basically ran into a bigger fish. I wonder if he had actually learned his lesson the seconds before he became destroyed. But I doubt it. He was very egotistical. Probably wouldn't have even noticed that he was being killed.
Your sire sounds bland and uninspired. It sounds like any one of 100 young artistes which pass through the halls any day, any night. Did you love him?
I think I was in many ways entranced by him because of how charming and suave he would present himself. Whenever he would come to see us practice, he'd always bestow a little extra coin on some of us, and I was the recipient of several such coins. I thought him generous and I thought him kind. Didn't realize there was a method behind it all until one night he just decided to make me fully his.
Yes, but did you ever love him?
I think I was infatuated with him, which is not the same. I'd often imagine the idea of maybe being in love with him, but the more I got to know him, the less appealing he became. And then there was always some gossip being spoken in the dark halls about how he tends to have half of the ladies of the night in Rome at his beck and call, and I felt disgusted hearing that about him. I hoped that maybe he would be different, but then he just turned out to be another young patrician with a lot of wealth at his disposal. A man who thought he could own anyone at any time. I am very glad that I learned this was not the case. It was all an illusion he was trying to put in front of me, and I'm sure many other young people that he has maimed over however long he lived. So no, I did not love him.
But you wanted him to be monogamous with you.
It is how I was brought up, and I always imagined that I would be married, and I wanted to make my husband a good wife when the time came, but I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, really. I think I was just, like I said, taken in by the false idea of a man that never really existed. And now I have a little bit of an idea of why he was the way he was, because now that I am a vampire, I get to maim people at times. I don't always present my true self, except to members of my coterie, really. Certainly not to humans. I have to always be on my guard, and half the time I still don't know if I'm playing my part as well as I should be. I wanted to be an actress. I actually was an understudy a couple of times, but I don't know how well I can act this part. Moving among humans as who I am, trying to pose as one of them. I'm still learning. I have a new patron who has taught me a lot of wisdom in the ways of being a vampire. But his time is limited, so I am learning from the coterie now. And if you were so kind to bestow any advice toward me, your faithful servant, I would be more than keen to learn from you.
Oh, dear, dear. I believe you mistake my patience for kindness. It's the mistake of a young girl. of which you are in attitude and thoughts and actions. When your sire hurts you, I want you to tell me. When you hurt a person, do you feel that hurt from your sire coming out? Do you feel some measure of redemption or justification, vindication? When you let out that violence onto somebody else, that pain and hurt?
That depends on the person. I believe that if the person is in some way deserving of it, I'm more akin to unleashing that spirit of vengeance. But if it's just somebody like a slave or someone I had just met who is willing to part with a few drops of their precious blood, then no, I would not do that. I suppose I must come across as a great disappointment to you.
You have not followed that line of thought to its conclusion. For if, as your sire did, if you only let loose on those on whom you feel justified, pretty soon everyone becomes a justifiable victim. Nay, better yet, pretty soon you find ways to make them a willing participant, don't you? Didn't he?
He did, but
But nothing. You
I do not
participated.
abuse my victims.
You became a participant, didn't you?
Was there a choice?
There's always a choice. You may not see it as a good choice.
I would take up the challenge and live with what I was given. He chose to make me a vampire, so be it. It does not mean that I have to become a monster like he did and was. There are many roads one can travel as a vampire.
Indeed, there are. And what did your sire teach you of your blood? Of your history?
I think the better question would be to ask what he did not teach me, which was mostly everything. He spoke very little of our clan. He told me that we were the most beautiful and sensuous, glamorous creatures among the vampire kind.
Why? Why are we?
Perhaps it is just the way that we carry ourselves. He did not tell me of the origins of the Toreador or its early history.
What do you know of my history?
I was told that you are an ancient one, and perhaps the most beautiful Toreador to walk the earth.
And that's it. That's all you know.
By the way, some spoke of you. It seemed like I should be wary of you, but that is logical without even having it heard from anyone else, because as an ancient vampire of this clan, you would be immensely powerful and so deserving of respect.
So you equate age with respect.
I equate the fact that you have been able to survive and thrive and amass great power and influence over a certain age with respect.
Eventually, your circuit takes you to an art installation. It's a statue of the god Pan, the satyr. Around him, in a semicircle, is a series of benches, about two-person benches. And on looking at them, each bench is held up by an anthropomorphic animal and a child, carvings. There's expressions on the faces of these carvings of adulation and horror. And she takes you up to the installation and she looks at it and she says, "Tell me something bad about this."
Hmm. Can you be more specific in what
No,
you mean by bad?
tell me something bad about it.
Well, I suppose I'm not fond of the faces that don't express joy or happiness. They do not appeal to me.
So there should only be joy in the world?
No,
Are the gods never do anything unworthy? Or you should never fear them?
of course. But you asked me what I felt was bad about it, and I told you my preference. If I could have it so, then the world would be full of joy, but I am more than well aware that it cannot be. Still, I don't like the art of these painful, twisted faces. It does not appeal to me.
As she leans in really close and whispers into your ear before walking away. That's right. And as a Toreador, your opinion about art trumps everything else. And then she walks away from you, leaving you to contemplate the conversation and that last departing remark on your own.
Flavia shivers as she's left alone and takes a seat on one of the benches, and then immerses herself in contemplation of everything she has just experienced.
Incidentally, nothing supernatural happens. It's just a bench. All right. Who wants to go next? Who has something they want to do, someone they want to talk about, anything at all?
I can't.
So go ahead.
Oh, I was just say I can't think of anything. I believe Alpino would approach. Let me see. What is his name again? The Lucian. Yes.
Okay. It does take a little bit of hunting, but you do eventually find him out in the gardens.
She approaches him. She does not try to make noise, but also does not try to be quiet. She assumes that he knows that she's there. And she has no need to announce her presence as she approaches him.
He doesn't acknowledge you, but by the subtle shift of his shoulders, you can tell he is aware that you're there.
Not Lucian. I trust I'm not interrupting anything.
He sniffs. You interrupt the sensations of our hostess. And he kind of looks, and you gather that he's talking about the smells and the sights. You can hear the music of incidentally, of the band that you guys brought. You can actually hear them playing somewhere on the grounds. And they are exquisite.
That I do. Although from what I understand of Helena's gatherings and parties, there is not a single moment in which such delightful experiences are not being displayed to its guests, to her guests.
And he just kind of stares at you with these dead eyes, waiting on you to get to the point.
Would you say to my curiosity? We know for a fact that you were involved in the attack on Valerone's holdings on Capua. Although, why exactly the attack is something that eludes us.
He just kind of looks at you and he says, "You don't expect me to tell you my secrets, do you?"
Not that secrets, no. Although I do expect to know if there is some kind of a feud between the two of you.
I am disappointed that a master of shadow has not discovered the connection already.
I am hardly a master yet.
That's not what I hear.
Either you are attempting to flatter me, or you have not been hearing, or whoever has been feeding me information has been greatly overselling my abilities.
Again, he just stares at you. You're kind of starting to understand why people got so freaked out when you were in Capua trying to talk about this guy. He's just got this air about him of he would just as soon kill you as be polite listening to you. Like he's having a hard time deciding what he wants to do right now.
Most of that keeps Albina feeling not exactly confident, but safe enough continue engaging with him, the knowledge that this place will be Helena's domain.
And that's a huge point, which is why he hasn't been able to decide what he's going to do right now.
Yes. It does seem rather it must make for interesting companionship on this party to share it with the man that you were trying to sabotage not a few decades ago, trying to ruin, and to share it with the people that aided him in protecting his holding.
Such things are taken to be a matter of course. If all problems were resolved so easily, eternity would be so dreadfully boring.
Perhaps, yes. Hmm. But just like how situations such as this can change, just as a moment a year you might be trying to destroy someone's life and then the other be enjoying a festival alongside him, so taking allegiances. We are we played a part in assisting Valerianius in the past, but that does not need to be the future.
If if this had been in my domain, I would have something to say about that. As this is neither my domain nor yours, I still am waiting for you to get to the point.
Might be that we might find common cause in working against the man that once we worked for. That that we might find common cause with you. Should we find ourselves working against the man that we once worked for? And maybe that just as we provided him with our services, we can provide you with ours.
While it would give me great pleasure to see him broken and bent before me, it seems that you are implying that I need your help to do this.
I don't believe you need my help to achieve this, no. Although I do believe that the participation of me would, and my coterie would help speed up the process and diminish the amount of your own time and resources that you need to expend to achieve this goal.
And why would I... First off, why do you want to help? What's your personal stake in this?
Valeronius is an unpleasant individual to say the very least. He has been less than grateful for me and my coterie for the services that we rendered, and has been and went through a great deal to try to weasel his way out of our agreement.
And your own ruling body has done nothing about this?
He followed procedures. He followed the laws established. He has a great deal of influence within the city, and he knows how to manipulate and twist to achieve his goals.
He is of the blood of Venture and the road of kings. Of course he does.
Yes. And truth be said, many of these matters escape me and my coterie as it stands. For we have much of us, we have largely been uh, maintaining that rather apolitical stance, and although that has done wonders to prevent us from making enemies, likewise has kept us from getting the allies required to fight back against the likes of Valeronius.
And yet, I sense desperation for merely being unpleasant is not enough to drive one of your training and caliber to seek out the help of, quite frankly, one of my training and caliber.
Well, I say to you the same thing you say to me. Do you expect me to tell you my secrets?
If you want help, yes.
Valeronius has Valeronius has struck back at us with vengeance. He has ch- cheated us and arranged trap for us that would ensure that we found ourselves in his debt. We will rather he did not get to be able to call such debt.
It must be very deep debt indeed for you to seek out such a desperate solution.
Deep enough.
And now we find ourselves in a quandary. For what is to stop me from approaching our hostess or your target and explaining what just happened?
There's very little that can be gained by exposing me. Your feud with Valeronius is something that he seems to be far graver than anything, any favor that you could gain with him by exposing me to him. And likewise, what would Helena care? What would she reward you with you to expose me to her?
Ah, but see, you underestimate this entire situation. First off, you assume that I have not already won. My domain is secure and Valeronius has no influence. I was already the victor.
You are the victor of a battle, but Valeronius is not is just as you, immortal, and he is unlikely to let sleeping dogs lie. It might take a few centuries, maybe millennia, but he will come back for his investments. He is too proud to not do so.
And there is the crux. For now, if I were to tell Valerianus what I've just now learned tonight, could that not possibly be the beginnings of settling his anger? And he grins. He knows he's got you. He grins. It's a very unpleasant smile. Those dark, intense eyes with those big black bags under his eyes just bore into your face.
It goes deeper than that. You took away what was his servants, his property. He's not going to let such insults go unanswered, even if we're to bring in knowledge of my offer to you to him. You, you might be able to buy some temporary respite, some temporary peace. But even that is a shaky proposition. What I am offering you is much safer, much more certain.
But it is not. You see, as I have already expressed to you, he's a venturer on the path of power. He very well understands the favors, the give and take, the trade, the compromises, the treaties that make up the delicate web of peace. And so, before I leave this garden and make up my mind what I want to do, first off, why shouldn't I go to him and speak of this matter? And second, what could you give to induce me to help you in the first place? And how would you help?
Any favor that you want with him can be paid with in other manner. You might end the favor for peace, but he might find a way to repay it and find of another offense that allows him to go on the offensive. As for what I can offer you, what part I'd play on this? Yeah, I would put myself, me and my quarter would put ourselves at the disposal of ensuring that Valeronis does not get to Rome. Uh, ensuring and we would provide we provide manpower and or expertise. And what you could gain from this? Well, you have little interest in Valeronius uh, on influence and on power base. You are free to take as you desire.
How very generous of you to allow me to take what is in my power to take. You see, you offer me favors, and yet, in this conversation, you have already proven that you cannot be trusted to repay your favors. For my silence, I will insist on payment in advance. As for the rest, I'll think about it.
What do you desire?
I desire the names of the traitors who attempted to assist Rome to gain a foothold in my domain.
Very well. Arachiji, Letitia, Rizzo, and Arundo. Are you familiar with them?
He just closes his eyes and takes a deep breath, lets it out. Like he's tasting. He's already got the taste of their demise in his mouth. And there's a glimmer. For the first time, there's a glimmer of actual emotion on his face. Before they die, I'll make sure they know it was you who gave them up. And he walks away.
She lets him go.
Whew. Albina, you get the very distinct impression that the shadows were hiding somebody who's been standing beside him the whole time. Shadows and obfuscate. Something moves past you that should not have been there.
Is she able to grab it, the thing moving?
No. It is obfuscate. It's shadows and obfuscate. You get the impression that, and then you recall he was said to go everywhere. He is never unaccompanied.
Oh boy.
You remember the tales of his very loyal bodyguard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very reasonable assumption. He goes about his business. He actually is leaving the mansion to go explore the town.
She returns back inside the mansion to enjoy the festivities.
All right. With the rest of the night, Astartes, Hatshepsut, Labiena.
Um, After seeing what happened to Astartes, Hat is going to take a very keen interest in those art pieces.
Okay. You
Um,
go. Please go on.
I was just gonna say, go over, take a look, and if informed or just after a while, if she's not forbidden from doing so, she will touch on them, presumably triggering those visions.
Yes, it does. The touch itself triggers the vision. Which one do you do first?
Are they in any kind of order, or are
No,
they
they
just?
seem to be placed. They're in different rooms. Each room is decently small. There's usually 3 or 4 people milling about in the space, and the tapestry takes up a wall, and it is covering some frescoes on the wall, some paintings, and the creation statue essentially takes up pride of place right in the center of a room. You can tell where there used to be benches and stuff, couches there that have been removed, and it takes up a lot of the space.
I'll probably start with the creation statue and then fan my way out almost.
Okay. You remember the vision for each statue?
Um,
All right.
I think I only fully remember the one with the basically being worked on an anvil or
Yes,
whatever.
that's the creation. It's a statue of the blacksmith at work over a table. As you touch and crawl over the statue, you experience the vision of being pounded, shaped, molded, formed, taken into a ball, and then hammered flat, formed into shape. A shape of what? You know not. But I need you to roll your courage at difficulty 6, and then your willpower at difficulty 6.
Oh boy.
And you can spend willpower on the courage roll if you want. All right. Yes, you withstand the pain and agony of the vision without allowing your beast to get out of control.
And the willpower roll is also difficulty 6.
Yes, your current willpower, which should be full. I don't believe you spent any.
Holy shit.
Very nice. Yes, you emerge from the experience shaken, but with a -1 difficulty to all self-control rolls for the rest of the night. As you experience a feeling of the gods are actually out there. It's a reaffirmation of faith and the power of planning, the power that there is a plan out there.
Interesting. Let's see. Alright. What are some of the others to look at?
The tapestry is the other one that, and then there is the last installation that's been pointed out to you was the pan flute statuary.
Just to save the last one for the big fish, let's see if the pan statue does anything first.
Roll your wits plus crafts. Wits plus crafts.
Oh boy, 3 dice. Need to raise that craft. Base diff?
Yeah, it's base diff. And then if you would like to make sense of the sculpture, you can roll your intelligence and theology.
No successes
Alright.
on the craft.
It's an okay looking piece.
It is a statue.
It's a series of statues actually, but yeah. You look at it and you're like, yeah, they look kind of nice. They're well done, I guess.
Holy shit!
There you go, the complete opposite of that roll. The expressions of the animals and the kids. This seems to be a representation of the hypnotic power of the satyr Pan and his representation with Dionysus and their ability to mesmerize. It is both horrible and fascinating and loving all at the same time. They don't want to be there, but they can't help it. They have to be there. And you may draw from that whatever conclusions you wish to draw from that. But it is not supernatural. It is just statuary.
And then finally, the tapestry.
With the tapestry, there is no roll required. You touch it, and you are drawn into the vision, as depicted. Your husband murdered, Roman soldier coming home, and the horrible, vile aftermath of this act that is perpetuated through the rest of the life of this vision. Out of curiosity, in the heat of the moment, before she has a chance to digest what this vision means, how does Hatchet feel about the children? The outcome of these acts. What does Hatchet feel?
It would probably be a very conflicted sense, a conflicted feeling of. Basically, it's the sort of thing where there's. If she's looking at it from a perspective of being the person having them, it's a mixture of obviously there's a great deal of resentment at the circumstances in which these children emerged and so forth, but there is also a degree of concern of however these children got here. They are mine, and I will do my best to try and raise them well, including hopefully to not be so much like their father. And from the I think from a sort of more abstracted perspective, from someone on the outside looking in, it would very much be a sense of, I suppose the best way to describe it would be a sort of muted, distaste that things had to go like that. But such circumstances, while one should work through them as best they could, they shouldn't really happen in the first place.
Now, you are on a strange spiritual journey of your own.
Mm.
You're on the road of... Are you on
L-
Lilith yet?
Yeah.
Oh. You can tell it's been a while since we had to work with Hatchet. Ah, yes. If you can tell me a lesson you learned about being on the road of Lilith from this vision, I will let you roll your conviction as a moment of truth.
Sometimes even the greatest atrocities and pains can be brought into something good if you're willing to force them such. If you're willing to learn and to grow and create from these pains and travesties.
That is an excellent lesson to learn. You may roll your conviction at difficulty 4.
Well, fuck. I learn it, but I don't fully internalize it yet.
Yes, you academically conceptualize the lesson, but you haven't, as you said, internalized it. And as Hatshepsut releases the tapestry and falls to her knees, trying not to retch, you feel the beast within you struggling to get out, and you are controlling it. You look up and you see that strange woman with the dark hair and the deep, dark violet eyes look at you with just a glimmer of disappointment before she turns the corner and exits.
I need a bit to think about what Hat's next move will be after this, so I'll cede the floor to someone else.
Well, Labiena, Astartes?
Okay, well, was Labiena sort of nearby when Hatshepsut was sort of looking at those art pieces?
If you want to be, yes, you are.
Okay. So basically, she can be seen kind of obviously whilst Hatshepsut was sort of going through some of those motions, she would have looked over. Kind of a combination of curious and I suppose a slight measure of concern. Seeing where she is now sort of contemplating she'll leave her there. But also, prior to that, seeing what happened to Astartes, she's probably going to head in the direction he went.
Okay, so you push through a couple of rooms and you see one that leads to the outside. You part the hanging curtains. You see Astartes kind of resting against a pillar. Nobody around him. Clearly, he has indicated his need for space at the moment. It's pretty dark out here. There's no nearby torches. Just enough to provide just a little bit of a glimmer that you can see him. Otherwise, it's the bright waning moon in the sky, providing light to the scene. It glimmers a little bit on the stone.
Well, basically, as soon as she, just as she reaches the entranceway or doorway or whatever it is, and lays eyes on Astartes, seeing him there, she'll kind of stop, so she's a fair distance away from him. Kind of look at him for a moment, observing his current form, what he's doing, rather how he's kind of resting on that pillar. And eventually she'll speak up. Are you all right?
Hear silence for a while, then after maybe eternity to you, but more than just like a minute, we say. I will be, I believe. Trying to sort out my thoughts. My mind is all jumbled up at the moment.
If you don't mind my asking, what happened back there?
Do you know the story about the Sabines? You've heard of it, right? The founding of Rome.
Out of
Mhm.
oh, I was going to say out of character. I don't know how much Labiana would know about that.
A pretty fair amount, actually.
Alright.
That tapestry has the ability to bring you back in time to experience that night and the lives of those that founded Rome.
As the Stardust is saying this, she'll kind of at one point turn back her vision back towards the interior. I don't know if she'd have any sort of a clear line to patch up sort of at least the general area of where the tapestry is. Kind of getting an idea of obviously that's what she's just experienced. And then eventually turns back to Astartes. Kind of contemplating herself, you know, a bit puzzled initially about what he just said about a tapestry. But of course, you know, at the same time, not surprised given everything else she's experienced as a vampire. I take it has a bit of an impact.
Yes, it does. In sort of way, it makes you reevaluate your whole life. And for me personally, it made me aware of the suffering that others, like my sister and other members of the coterie, felt, and my insignificance compared to that.
You wonder what the creator had in mind for this tapestry, what its true purpose is.
I believe it was meant to teach the lessons of pain, or show what really happened that night. That the greatest city in the world was built on suffering and pain.
You think it's possible they were actually there?
From what I observed, the artist is mortal, so. But the ability of the tapestry makes me doubt that she's completely mortal. You do know that there are those that can use magic that walks amongst us, right?
I do,
Yes.
yes.
Either she knows someone who can use magic or she is a magic user. So be careful around her.
Yes. Out of character, Labiena, knowing that, she basically has her own, in inverted commas, magic, I guess. It's always best to be, and she, I suppose, deliberate pause, wary of magic users. Kind of turning back to him.
Sorry, did not get that. What did you say?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I suppose for a moment she appeared thoughtful and said, yes, it's always good to be, deliberate pause, wary of magic users. And then turning back to Stardust. If anyone looked hard enough, they might actually see a glimmer of concern underneath her skeletal condition. Are you sure you're going to be alright?
Given some time, I believe I will. Just a lot to sort through my mind at the moment.
Very well. And then with that, she'll turn back and head back inside.
Yeah, you head back inside, no problems. Stardust clearly indicating his need for space. Nobody bothers you either until you're ready. Flavia and Lucius, did you guys have anything you wanted to do with the rest of this evening?
I think given the predicament that the player is in, like totally exhausted physically, mentally, I probably shouldn't. I can't put any thoughts together other than being guided by the GM. And if that's okay, I would prefer to leave it as that for today. If that's
Okay.
all right.
Well, tomorrow you guys have your play to do, and you have several performers you need to check up on. Unless you're going to mostly abandon them, but that can be done over the course of the next tonight and the next night after your play. So, if you guys have nothing else to do tonight, I'm throwing it out there one more time before we go on.
Sorry. After a while to recover herself, Hannah's going to get up and see if she can track down the strange one. You know, the one with violet eyes.
You ask around a bit, and you do eventually find her in another portion of the house. She's having a glass of wine and seems to be enjoying some of the artwork and chatting with a couple of the other guests. The guests of no consequence, we'll put it like that.
I give some time for like a break in the conversation. Yeah, where I can a point where I can slide in smoothly, basically.
Okay.
Without.
Yeah, it happens.
I'm just going to say, well, first of all, I'm sorry to have disappointed you earlier, but I take it you are the creator of some of these works.
In so many words.
Then, even if I have not fully met expectations, I must thank you for the experiences they have provided. Hopefully, I shall in time properly learn from them. If I may ask, and I understand fully if you wish not to elaborate on it, but I find myself curious as to how such things were made.
I suppose that'll be my little secret.
Fair enough.
But you do understand such things exist only through experience. No?
Indeed. Our methods can offer only at best a window. It is a truth that I know and still struggle sometimes, I admit, to fully embrace.
She looks at your eyes and she puts her hand on your stomach. And for a moment, you swear you feel something turn inside you. And the woman in front of you is no longer of fair skin and ruby red lips, but of cracked red, sunburnt, sun-blasted facial features, as if she's walked for years in the harsh desert sun. And then it's gone, and she says to you, pain will unlock love, and love will unlock pain. And within all this creation,
That simply nods. Thank you for giving me something of a reminder that I needed. Perhaps one day we will meet again, I will have learned more, and we can discuss more, but for now, I should probably see to my companions. Good evening.
And she turns back and she finds someone else to talk to, almost as if you just slipped from her mind once you're no longer in front of her.
Mm-hmm. And for now, I think that's gonna be all for Hat for this night. Just going back, checking back up, with the rest of the coterie, and just spending a bit to nominally relax, but really mostly just to try and continue to process the experiences she just received.
Understood. Anybody else?
Open is going to try to get together the rest of the coterie to tell them of the what she just did, her plan, and the possible less than pleasant results that might end up with.
Hmm.
Thank you, Alvina, but aren't you risking a lot for us at the moment?
Sorry, what?
Thank you for your efforts, but are you not risking a lot for us at the moment?
I am risking what needs to be risked. If there is a safer way to do about it, I am all ears.
We also think he's gonna hold up his end of the bargain.
Unfortunately, we don't even know if he plans to go through with this. And that bodyguard of his, he promised that he would keep quiet about our conversation, but that bodyguard made no such promise.
Well, the ball's already rolling. Let's see what happens and deal with it as it happens then. And once again, a thank you from the bottom of my heart, Avina, for risking your life for us like that.
You seem to be under the impression that that I was not also at risk of losing my patron. We are in this together.
But you could have lost your life tonight by just dealing with that man. And I believe you value your life more than you value your patron.
You are not incorrect.
So that is why I am grateful to you. And I'm sorry for acting so rudely to you earlier tonight.
What do you mean?
When I asked you beforehand to hold me and how I reacted after experiencing the painting. I was rude to you, and I'm sorry for that.
The way how you act hurted me. No, it did not hurt me. There is nothing for you to apologize.
Besides, it was assuredly must have been very jarring for you, and had give you a knowing look.
He looks at her. Did you seriously touch it after seeing what I went through?
Yes,
And you see a small smile appear on his face. And I respect you for that.
we all have the routes we attempt to take to insight. Yours did not prepare you for this. Mine did, though I fear I did not fully meet the challenge.
What roads do you walk? I was under the assumption that all Setites are almost indoctrinated to follow Seth.
Well, we would consider Set's teachings to be a liberating truth, but fair enough to what it might seem to outsiders. But regardless, there is variance within the clan. Part of Set's wisdom is understanding that the truth is rarely a singular strand, and more a many-branched tree, almost.
I mean, you could even go as far as saying some of them connect in some way.
Indeed. I would... Perhaps at another juncture I might tell you more, but for now, I believe that the night is getting a bit on, and I'm not able to fully focus myself for a proper discussion at present.
I know what you mean. Maybe we can discuss it at length on a later date, if we survive till then.
And if we don't, then at least we won't have to worry about it anymore.
You see him really thinking about it, deep in contemplation, because his view of the satellite has been changed a little bit, so he's contemplating his whole view on the matter.
Excellent. But yeah, Hat simply nods and sort of like relaxes back. Well, it appears that at present we can't really do anything more about this. Out of character. What was the guy Alwiner approached?
Lucian.
Lucian.
Well, it seems that we can't really do anything about this Lucian situation at present. Does anyone have any other ideas for how to deal with the broader situation?
believe we should come up with a backup plan in case of Albina's initial plan fails. But I cannot think of anything at the moment.
One thing that we can do to technically stall the process is, well, find a way to delay our leaving of Pompeii. That would at least buy us time to think of something.
Okay, and under which pretense are we gonna do that?
Well, if it's specifically just us staying back, we can just ask for permission for more time to explore the city a little.
Also, at this juncture, I would go as far as saying perhaps whilst in public. Damn it! I just had a train of thought and it's gone. Well, basically, I would highly recommend that whilst in public, we only discuss things that we want everyone to hear and leave some of the more crucial details for closed doors. Out of character, Labiena's referring to her nearly acquired ritual. Otherwise, I think there's not really much else we can do this night.
Well, and with that, you guys retreat to your quarters to speak in private. If there's any plans you need to discuss tonight, now's the time to do it. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and shift forward tonight.
Perhaps we should already go and address Helena about the possibility of us staying for a while longer, asking for the honor of being her guests.
How long are we talking about here? How long do you want to stay here?
We don't even know if we are going to be staying here. Just letting her aware of this. Just dropping the possibility by her.
I
Gauging her reaction.
believe that may tip our hand too much. It quite clearly gives a sense that we are potentially planning something.
Agreed.
But if we go to her after something goes wrong, it will be seen as we are trying to get her mixed up in this as well. But even if we do end up staying a little while here, eventually we have to go back to Rome.
Well, strictly speaking, we could run off into the mountains, but it wouldn't necessarily be advisable.
And he's looking straight at you, Hatshepsut. Are you willing to abandon your cult?
As I said, not advisable. Just merely pointing out that, strictly speaking, we do have other options, even if they're bad.
I'm not sure you guys are aware of this, but given as most of you are on another road that is not humanity, you have gone through this process, as have I in the past. And I'm particularly vulnerable at this moment to be gone forever. Cannot afford another slip up. Otherwise, you guys will have to be the ones to take me down. I've let my emotions guide me earlier this past couple of days, but I'm starting to believe the easiest way is just to go to the man, ask him what he wants. Because what is to gain the freedom from the life boon, and to lose my mind in the process?
But even if you were to achieve that, there is still the matter of Labianos. Unless you think you can buy off her life boon as well.
Valeronis is a clever man. He's not gonna go for the two for one deal. He's gonna try extract as much as possible from this. So I'm just saying, bringing up an option. Not so sure what Labiana's gonna choose, and he's looking at her. Or we can go with Albina's original plan, see how this plays out.
Well, as was pointed out earlier, we have several options we can explore. One of them, obviously, is in motion. I guess it wouldn't hurt to talk to the man as a second option. But also coming up with several other options at the same time. Covering our bases, as it were.
That's the part that I'm stuck at. I cannot see any more options. Any of you
Labiana
has...
would appear.
Hmm?
Labiana would appear thoughtful for a moment. Probably having never thought of this before, surprisingly, as a couple 100-year-old kindred. First of all, what do we know of Valorinius? Of his, I suppose you could say, indulgences? His desires?
Here's a thought. Chris, I've still got a whole bunch of the specially prepared blood brew, right?
Yes, you do.
Would it be possible to essentially spike a portion of it? Take out a portion and make it much stronger in its effects. Ideally, without giving away how much it's been altered.
Possibly. I think you have enough magical knowledge to do that.
I'm just thinking if we could perhaps I could set aside some for give to various people as just a bit of a demonstration to give a toast to the evening and to the generous hostess, and then make sure that Valerius drinks a particularly strong batch. We might be in a better position to, well, take advantage somehow. It isn't a full plan, but it's at least has the beginnings of one.
So let me get this straight. And I approach closer to her without touching her. So you want to get him drunk before we ask what he wants from us?
Not necessarily before that, but before we do something.
Look at the rest. Any objections?
Fabiana nods and says, perhaps there's a way we can utilize that to try and coax some information out of him that we could potentially use against him later on.
I may not know Valeronius as well as some of you, but I believe he will be prepared for that. He's a shrewd man. What is to say that even when drunk, he will say any information that will make us actually more indebted to him than we already are.
I suppose it would depend on how careful we are with our words.
I'm speaking for myself. I am not the manipulator, so I'm not so sure how the rest of you might be able to get that out of him. And he's looking straight at Albina when he's saying that.
And what information could we get out of him that would make him give up a life boon? Joe, in fact.
You know, one approach occurs to me to, since we're at a stage where we're having trouble coming up with ideas, let alone executing them. Would I be able to go out a bit to some countryside and try and cast a horoscope?
Sure. You're leaving the city walls?
Briefly, yeah.
Alright. Need you to roll me a D100, please. You're excellent. You walk out, you feel unbelievably safe and secure, and you feel you will not be disturbed. It is beautiful weather outside. The full moon is high in the sky. And it is, however, setting, though, in a couple more hours.
Then I should work fast. Okay. Been a while since I've done this, so I think first it's a wits hearth wisdom.
Yes, to cast the horoscope. It has indeed been a long time since we did this. It's good to have Hatshepsut back.
Uh, uh, 3 successes.
Okay. Hold on a moment. I'm trying to find how we were doing that. I think we had it on your character sheet. There it it is. We don't have it written down.
I think the first roll added dice to the
should add
second one.
two dice to the second roll to as you interpret your oracular sight, your oracular vision.
Which I believe should be intelligence enigmas.
Enigmas or occult? I gotta look that one up. Merits. There it is. Yes, perception or intelligence plus enigmas.
Okay.
So this is intelligence plus enigmas. Interpret your horoscope.
3 successes.
Okay, you can ask 3 questions.
Alright. First of all, by which route is Valonius currently most vulnerable?
Your horoscope will not answer that. That's too broad of a question.
Hmm.
Do you mean physical route? Like attack approach? It's very broad. You need to narrow that down.
More for let's try specifically putting it more in the socially manipulating side of things. What sort of weak points could we exploit to manipulate him, basically?
His greed. You know that he's quite greedy and indulgent with himself.
Okay. Two more questions. You know, something that occurs just from something to double check something else that's going on. How are things likely to go with the whole issue with Lucian? Is he likely to accept our offer, or is he going to either just ignore us or outright rat us out? Obviously, probably won't be a perfect answer, but just a general vibe.
Your horoscope shows you signs of extreme distrust, and you believe you will have to exert a significant effort to get him to help you.
But not necessarily that he'll betray us not betray, but hopefully not necessarily that he'll rat us out right now. Hopefully. And finally, let me think. Here's a bit of a different one. What sort of thing Could he potentially be interested in us providing for him? Hopefully that isn't too broad. I realize it is still pretty broad, but
The horoscope shows different things for each of you. You believe that you might have to cast a different horoscope to interpret, but you only have time to cast one.
as in just this one, or like.
Well, pick a character, basically. Cast their horoscope, and you'll get the answer.
All right, I'll do me.
What would he want out of you? You cast the horoscope, and with your previous interpretation, the answer is unclear. He's not sure what he would want from you.
Damn it. Oh well,
But
at
it's just
least.
an answer in and of itself. He hasn't given it that much thought.
True. Alright, that's all we've got time for, so I'm just going to. So Hat's going to make notes of what's been revealed, what are some ritualistic statements of thanks, and then head back in and go to the others and say, if we want to entrap him socially, his greed is going to be the best option. The challenge then is figuring out something we have that he wants that we could use to even the debt.
The three of you has more experience with him. What does we have that he wants?
Out of character, do we know how he feels about knowledge?
Yeah, knowledge is a good thing, but because ignorance leads to pitfalls, and pitfalls lead to failure. But he is on the road of kings.
He's more the type to value what knowledge brings him than the knowledge itself.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, so it's a matter of finding out the specific kind of knowledge he might want.
What do you guys have to offer that he wants? Because I've been of service to my clan the past couple of centuries, so
Well, I know for certain that if there is anything I have that would be of interest to him, he himself is not aware of it.
and how might you know that?
It was one of the answers I was able to glean from the fates.
Answers you see is you see a stars looking at you interesting. And may I ask how you acquired that knowledge?
Oh, simple astrological techniques that I picked up. I believe I was getting the basics down even back when I was a mortal.
Interesting. You're becoming more and more interesting by the minute, Hatshepsut.
Well, glad to intrigue then. But that is beside the point.
Yeah, you're right.
Also,
Mhm.
also, for what it's worth, while I don't believe that I do not believe the solution is going to inform on us yet. I do believe that unless we offer significantly more incentive, he is not going to deign to work with us.
Well, if you want more incentive, perhaps there might be something that we can do. Perhaps there is something that we can offer. He seemed to hold a great deal of steam for my abilities over the abuse. I am way below him. That is a fact. But if his admiration is as true as he made it seem to be, then perhaps we might be able to drop hints of something that I might be willing to share, I might be able to share. Enough to earn his interest, if nothing else. To know, if not something that I know at the present, then something that I might learn from my grandsire. It would be as if by extension he was learning from Bookerfuss himself.
If you are willing to put such things on the table, then perhaps. Out of character. Just something to bring up that I want to just double check on. Knowledge of the story behind the Brujah founders isn't common, right? Like, it's not something most non-Brujah know. Is that correct, or is that wrong?
The Diablerie thing?
Yeah.
No, that is not common knowledge.
Okay. The second two questions. Does Valoronius have interests against any particular Brujah in Rome? And would knowledge of this make a good rhetorical tool for him?
I think you should roll your intelligence plus politics. And Hatchet's just going to be... No, you've been back up and about for a couple of decades now, so it's going to be difficulty 7 for you.
Alright, I'm going to assume that neither of my specialties apply. Creative and book knowledge, I doubt
That's
either
correct,
of them.
yeah. Neither one of them are applicable here.
Am I able to spend a willpower, though?
Yes.
Alright.
Here's a question I've been meaning to ask regarding Brujah law. Would basic level Brujah law cover the Diablerie?
2 successes.
To answer your question, Labiana, I would think you need probably level 3 to have heard rumors about it.
Okay.
And that's just because we're in ancient day and age where you actually have access to those who would know that. It's which makes you wonder why it's so common in the modern Knights. It's almost as if somebody intentionally leaked that information.
Perhaps it's going to start happening right now.
Indeed. Maybe we were the ones that started
yes.
it.
With 2 successes, you said?
Yeah. Because one
Willpower.
rolled success and one from willpower.
There are no Brujah of any real consequence in Rome right now. Like all Ventru, he would pay a hefty price if somebody could bring him Critias's head. Incidentally, roll if you have Brujah lore, you can roll this, or you can roll a intelligence plus occult at difficulty 9.
It'll be intelligence occult.
If anybody has Brujah lore, they can roll that.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, I
Oh.
only bring up the diablerie thing because I have it specifically noted that I learned it somewhere. I can't quite remember where though.
If you have lore, it's difficulty 6.
Okay.
But if it's a cult,
So
it's
this
diff
was.
9.
So
One
what did you say
success.
the role was?
Intelligence plus Bruja clan lore.
Okay. So I think I might physically roll this one. It's my intelligence.
1 success, all
So-
right.
Now, would a research specialty apply here?
For you, it would, actually. Because
Okay.
pertains to genealogy and rumors. Excellent. All right. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 total successes between all of you. You spend the last few hours tonight before the sun rises discussing what you know about Vironius, and you guys collectively come up with a realization that while all Ventru hate Critias, all of Roman Ventru hate Critias for what he did in helping to foment the social war, Critias is the child of Menelaus, and Menelaus and Helena are mortal enemies. They will sacrifice very, very much to kill one another. And you all do, you collectively come to that realization of maybe this is useful, maybe it's not, but there are some enemies, lineages that you might be able to exploit. And with that, we are going to take. Oh, let's come back at 10 after 4.
Okay.
Okay, with that revelation, as you guys bed down for the day, and you come to the next night, mark off a point of blood as you wake up. And tonight is your opportunity to shine in the play that Flavia wrote.
Alright then. Let's get ourselves ready. Have you understood the roles?
Yes, you each you head to the amphitheater. You head to the you go meet up with your musicians who are there. You are in time to catch the end of a couple of other plays that are average at best. There seems to be several groups doing different plays throughout the festivities. You grab your costumes. They're serviceable. They're not spectacular, but they are serviceable. All of your set pieces are here. Everything you need has all arrived safely. You have time to put your things together and discuss a few last minute notes, and then you are on. Alright, so how many of you guys are actually in the play? Flavia, you're going to be the one to answer this one.
I figured that we would all be in the dance troupe, and the actual players that we have hired to play all the main and backup or background roles would be doing the actual acting.
Actually, it's the other way around. You guys are doing the actual acting because these plays are usually 2 or 3 people on stage at most, and
Okay.
the chorus does a lot of explanations. And you hired the chorus, so you
I
don't
see.
have to
Okay.
worry about that.
All right, then in keeping with tradition of the story, we would have to have Astartes play the part of Orpheus, and we could have Albina play the part of your DJ because he's got that mysterious and yet beautiful look to her. I think that would work.
Okay.
Just so I can get this straight, do I have to speak? Because Astar is a musician, actually, he's not an actor. Or just to play it out.
Yeah, but
It-
it's you're it won't penalize you. You don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
All right, and probably Labiena and to have a or yeah, you might not want to have Labiena do a roll.
I think that she could actually be Persephone because she could very well just keep herself covered if she wishes to be covered. You know, as the ruler of the underworld, give her a little bit more mystery.
Well, that was my thought, and then I remembered that her just being there puts people off.
Yeah.
They find her presence
Oh,
off-putting.
okay.
So,
I can probably I can probably ad hoc the role of Persephone.
all right, Hatshepsut and
Okay.
Flavia, you have a role yourself as well, I believe. And it was, while traditionally men played all the roles, it was you're doing a Cainite play here, so you can do gender bender opposite way. Women playing men's roles doesn't matter. So 4 of you are going to be making 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 of you are making charisma plus performance rolls. Now, between you, you have 3 bonus dice to divide up for this roll. 3 total bonus dice.
You say charisma and performance, or
Yes, charisma plus performance.
and it's what's the difficulty?
6.
I've got 6 dice to my roll, so
I also have 6 dice to my rolls.
I have 4.
okay. So we'll probably want to give the bonus dice to Albina.
All right. So the play begins. Flavia plays her performance, her role flawlessly with 4 successes. I'm going to count that 10 as a specialty.
I'm gonna spend my willpower and try my roll next.
All right. That is 7 total successes so far.
I will also be spending a willpower for this. 1 success.
All right, 8 successes. Hatshepsut unfortunately stumbles quite badly in her lines in her place. She didn't study very hard.
Got too distracted by was too distracted making the beer.
So I getting the 3 dices, yes?
Yes, you get 3 extra dice.
Would the enchanting voice apply for this?
No, this is a performance.
Okay, I'm going to also use a willpower. Oh, fuck.
So, as a group, you had 9 total successes. Your band gives you 5 automatic successes for 14. The applause is wild.
Thank God.
Your play is extremely well received. The crowd loved it, loved your performances. You are, thus far, everyone is talking about your play and 2 others. There are many others who just like, oh yeah, it was a play, it was entertaining, whatever. But you're among the top 3 performances.
Any that were so bad that it becomes its own kind of interesting.
Yeah, none were horrible. There were 5, 6, 7, 8 plays put on.
I see.
So yes, you finish up just before midnight. The climactic act and the denouement. The chorus sings you off. You have wild applause. The band wraps up. They begin to pack their stuff away, and they take their applause and their congratulations appropriately. The amphitheater itself was packed with guests as more and more heard the performance. So yeah, there's a lot of acclaim and applause going on here for you guys. You did a fantastic job. So you are leaving the amphitheater or staying to get your congratulations, however it is you guys do you, and you are in the southeastern corner of the city where the amphitheater is at. So you can smell the wool factory just across a big courtyard. The city is yours. The night is yours.
I think Flavia would like to congratulate the coterie on putting together such a splendid performance. We didn't know they had it in them, except, of course, for Astartes, because she was aware that he was actually playing an instrument. And his acting wasn't too bad either. So definitely got some talent there. And she's clearly relieved because it is the first such play that she had tried to put on since she was a mortal being. So definitely, it's almost as if something inside Flavia has altered a little bit. That success gave her a lot of self-confidence, and you can see it in her smile and how gleeful she is about the whole thing, and ecstatic with the fact that the coterie was able to pull all of this together with minimal practice, and just was willing to trust her on this and went out on a limb and did it. So she's on top of the world. And she expresses herself to tell everybody that so that they understand just how happy they have made her.
All the praise that's being given to their play is given Albina, stroking Albina's egos in a delightful way that brings a slight twitch of her lips in a ghost of a smile. She certainly high spirits herself after this, even not recognizing that not recognizing that her personal performance was subpar, not likely willing to recognize it even if she knew. So she's just hiding her eye in the wave of satisfaction. And as she's congratulated, she turns to Flavia and nonchalantly motions to the rest of the actors that they put together, the entire ensemble, the musicians, everything. We had everything to succeed on this. We had the best, supporting cast that Rome could offer, and the best screenwriter that Rome could offer. There is nothing. Success is never in question, never in doubt.
You are very kind, but we wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Of course, you were in the title role after all, and Astartes also just totally blew my mind with how well he can actually play an instrument. I've never actually seen or heard him play up to this point. I should have probably snuck in on the time he was practicing, but Too busy trying to polish off the odds and ends of the play. But hopefully, this may be something we could perhaps continue after we return to Rome. Just think of the glory, the acclaim, the popularity, the money. Oh yes, there would be money. And she's totally going off, having this dream of them being on an amphitheater stage and every now and then getting the public to throw flowers and petals at them and inviting them to banquets to perform in private houses. Her mind's just blown up with all these visuals as she drifts off and kind of stares into the distance, mesmerized by these ideas.
One question. Can I bear to be touched at the moment?
Yes, things are back to normal for you.
So approach Flavia and hug her and say, all this is you. You may have found your calling. But I believe while you shine in the spotlight, some of us would prefer to stay in the shadows. But I congratulate you, and I hope that you will find a future in all this and what makes you actually happy.
Thank you very much. Your words mean a lot to me. And again, without you guys, we have not made it a huge success. But now that we're done, maybe we should treat ourselves to a proper feast, a banquet, something to properly punctuate this night.
I believe we're not allowed in the city at the moment.
I wasn't suggesting that we leave. We could stay in Pompeii. I'm sure there's fun to be had. This place does not seem dreary. I'm sure there's fun things to do. Though, my first time here, so you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Are there places to be enjoyed?
This is. Sorry, go ahead.
Out of character, I was going to say, would the gladiators still be performing?
Yes, they are. There are several performances going on throughout the city. Remember, you guys hired an animal trainer who is doing her act at various points. You have your artists competition, and you have your gladiators.
Chris, some question. I kind of forgot. What were the rules of Ghouling again? And Blood Bonded, 3 separate drinks in one month?
On 3 different nights. Just has to be 3 different nights.
Okay, and I assume Barkball is with me. So I'm gonna ask him, what is likely the most drink that our gladiator friend would like to drink?
Probably wine.
Okay, perfect. Then I'm gonna buy a pitcher of wine and mix a little bit of my blood in it to give to her.
Mark off 4 blood points. That's going to put about half full. You take an entire amphoray of wine, pour about half of it out, put your blood in it.
And we're gonna go hand it to her.
Okay, so you guys head up north, to the north end of the city. That's where the gladiator fights are. There's a natural feature where there's a dip in the ground. So more kind of like a little bit of a natural bowl. And there's some rocks and stuff on one side. And they've augmented the rocks with some bleachers and a stage. There's only a couple of... there's some people there. It's getting pretty late for them. It's just about midnight. But there are some fights going on. You don't see your female gladiator yet, though. Somebody roll me a d20.
Oh, I didn't get to roll that often. It's crossed.
5. You scan the crowd in the area and you don't see her.
I look at Barkwell. Do you know where she is?
He's like, well, yeah, they made a temporary barracks house and some stuff, inside the city. She's probably in there sleeping.
And do you know if she already had a fight or not?
Today, yeah, she did. She's fought a couple of times.
And what did she do, my friend?
I'm not sure.
Okay, let's find out then. I look at the rest of the coterie. Do you guys want to join?
Oh,
There is something that I like to see with Helena about.
Okay.
Flavia, you might also enjoy this.
I was actually going to say that yes, I have never actually been to see such a sporting event, and I would very much love to accompany you, Astartes.
I believe Albina wanted you to accompany her to Helena.
Aww.
And knowing Albina, it might be for the best.
Visible look of disappointment on Flavia's features. She actually wanted to see some muscular, hot, sweaty bodies going at it. Well, she's young and... Anyway, yeah. Alright, Albina, I'll go with you, but... Is this gonna take long? Are we gonna have time to come back and see some of the matches?
We should. I only curious about what was the fate of a man that I sent to Helena.
Alright, I'll come with you.
And if I have my way, you might experience more fights coming up.
Definitely happy to hear that. I'll hold you to it, Astartes.
Wish me luck then.
All right. Astartes, you guys head towards back into the city. It's not far. It's a short walk back to the barracks building. There's a barracks building, and there's a couple of homes right next to it. What you have heard is that the homes are housing the two most famous gladiators from Rome that are down there. One woman and one man. Procula, your gladiator, is housed in the barracks. So there is a guard standing out front. Someone who's been paid by the city to, keep the fighters undisturbed and in good health. As you approach, he stands up and he's like, "Hey, sorry, I can't let you guys in. They need to get their sleep for the festivities tomorrow."
One of those gladiators are hired by me. The woman Procula. I would like to speak to her before tomorrow, if I may please.
Okay. Can you show me your access or something to identify you that I can check?
Out of character, I have something.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I show him that then.
All right. He takes the thick stack of papers, and what this is normally a couple of letters that are stamped with official stamps, and they're letters of attesting, right? Saying, "I swear this person is who he says he is." And they're usually stamped with official, stamps of the bureaucracy of Rome. And he kind of flips through them and he says, "Okay, just a moment." And he goes back in and he comes back out after a couple of moments and he says, "All right, everything looks to be in order. If you want to wait out here, or I can let you into the entryway real quick, but you got to be quiet because everyone else is sleeping. And it takes about 10 minutes, and Procula comes down. The big, massive, just massive bulk of this woman come down. Comes down the steps. You can hear the wood creaking under her weight, like flexing. She's just hastily put some sandals on. She's got very basic, tunic on. She obviously just threw on. She's rubbing the sleep from her eyes. She's like, what? Did you need something?
First off, I want to use awe on her at that moment to make her actually happy to see me.
Okay, well, you're putting off an impression that for her. So, like, commanding or just like a generic, I don't know how to phrase it, but like generic boyfriend material.
Yeah, something like that. I want to remind her of our last time and don't want to take it in that direction yet, but just get her to accept a drink from me. And so it's gonna work that way then?
Okay, well, spend your blood point, roll your charisma plus performance, a diff 7. Alright,
Just before that,
all works.
I was going to say, just before that, Labiana was just going to say something like, "Oh, look, we're sorry to disturb you, but we won't take up too much of your time."
Yeah. She kind of looks at you and she's like, ugh. That's a reaction you are well used to, very much accustomed to. And she's like, look, it's nice to see you and everything. We had a good time the last time, but, like, I have to fight tomorrow and I am, like, really tired. You can see fresh bruises on her from where she'd fought in that last couple of days. So she's not lying.
That is one of the reasons why I come here tonight. I've heard about your last couple of fights, and I came here, one, to congratulate you, and two, to offer you a medicinal drink that will suit the pain you have at the moment.
She's like, no, I'm roll your charisma and I would say let's go charisma plus subterfuge.
I'm gonna spend a willpower on this.
And Labiana would probably add something like, "And to celebrate your success."
Alright, she's like, oh, some medicine, huh? Okay.
It will reinvigorate yourself.
She's like,
Reinvigorate you tomorrow.
Barrack Ball hands over this huge clay jug of wine. She's like, Jesus. She goes, why? The guy, gods, that's a lot of medicine. Ha. And she's like, well, go fetch some cups, pour it out, join me. There's apparently a lot in here, I guess. And Barrack Ball pours a bunch of cups, and it gets handed out, and a toast.
I look at the rats and say in Phoenician, don't drink it.
Labiana kind of gives a slightly...
Well, Labiana would know she can't drink it, because it is wine.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Plus, she has her mask on, I would assume.
Indeed.
Yeah. It's like I've seen an airplane where he keeps trying to drink water and he throws it over his face.
Yeah.
She downs it. The attendant downs it. Barrack Ball downs it. It's not going to hurt him. I need a dexterity plus subterfuge roll from you. Stardust. Fake drinking your toast.
It's almost like do the old pretend you're drinking it, but throw it over your shoulder when they're not looking.
Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, cheers! And he's like, oh, there's a potted plant. Into the potted plant it goes. And she's like, okay, that's awesome. Look, I need to go to sleep now. So,
Of course, we'll leave you to it.
Okay. I hope to hear good news from you tomorrow.
she's like, you guys are coming, right? I'm fighting that fucking bitch who knocked me off the prime seat.
And at what time would that be?
High noon. Fighting Agrippa Helvis.
I'm sorry, but we will be engaged at the moment. But I will send Park while here. And he will make sure that...
She looks at him like he's dog shit on the floor.
But he will make sure I know everything that happened.
Yeah, with that second drink, she's like, okay. This guy Stardust is pretty nice. Not a bad dude at all. Maybe we should hang out some more. You know, it's starting to take effect.
Oh, I hope we can speak tomorrow night. When we are more at ease. See you then.
And good luck.
She climbs back and goes to bed.
One more drink to go. So I'm assuming it's just Labiana and Hatshepsut, or did Hatshepsut go with Labiana?
As you guys are walking out of there, make a perception plus alertness roll for me at difficulty 7. There is a brief impression, Labiana. You feel like you're being watched, but you stop and look around and you don't see anybody. And the feeling soon passes, but you could have sworn, just for a second, like, you get that feeling, like, man, there's somebody looking at us. But you don't see anyone.
Still, she'll probably just, upon feeling that, probably just offer a brief side glance to Astartes for a moment before, just carrying on.
All right. Flavia and Albina, you guys head back to the villa. You inform the servants that you need to speak to Helena. And you basically have to cool your heels for about an hour. And finally, Prius, her ghoul, comes to get you. And leads you into the chamber. She is in her out-about-town gear. She was at the amphitheater, by the way she's dressed.
Mistress Helena, thank you for seeing us so promptly. You just came back from the amphitheater.
She says, yes, it was a decent play, but not on par with yours.
I'm glad to hear that our work brought you, that our work earned your esteem. Say, I was curious, I'd like to know, what came to be of that arrangement that you had made for the silk, for the Eastern magical cloth?
She's honestly thinking about it. says, I'm having trouble remembering.
Abner looks confused. For a moment, her cold and cool facade breaking for a moment, and she tilts her head to the side and takes a step back. A look of a look of shock on her face, considering the amount of money that she invested on this. She takes a moment to recompose herself. Forgive me?
I guess you're going to have to remind me.
You heard rumors of a new type of cloth. A type of with no we had never seen here before, and we are unable to reproduce. One that was unlike anything else. And you wish for me to arrange to have one of the merchants that dealt in such cloth brought before you.
Oh, yes. That. He has contacts with the many caravans that have come from the very, very far east. It is expensive, rare. The dress I was wearing last night has elements of it. It is a wonderful fabric, but to be honest, it loses its allure after a short amount of time, and it becomes something else to wear.
I see. I was hoping perhaps it would be allowed for me and to my fellow coterie member Flavia to have a glance of this material that was thought so highly by one such as yourself. This magical cloth.
Hey, she goes, Prius. Is there any of that Eastern silk? If we have a sample, a dress up coming, anything? And he goes, oh, mistress, let me go check. I'll be right back. And he runs off. He comes back in about half an hour with a large piece draped across his arms. It's halfway being made into, looks like a cape of some kind, perhaps, or a cloak.
Albina moves to extend her hand to it and look at Helena, silently asking for permission.
She just nods. The jaded, oh so jaded attitude shining through so clearly here.
Albina touches it, offering it over to Flavia.
It is amazing. It is dense. It feels like nothing you've ever felt before. Wool, you felt wool, you felt cotton. Burlap, leather. This is so thick and smooth, and it glitters in the light. And you notice as you kind of flip the cloth a little bit back and forth to look at the pattern, the shadows of the light changes, and it actually changes the shades of the cloth as you're looking at it. There's a couple of threads where they're still working it, and you feel the threads, and it feels about as thick as a woven cotton, as a very finely woven cotton thread. But it's light. And you realize that the heaviness of what you're feeling is because they've packed the threading so dense that there's no, like, breathing room between the threads. It's gorgeous.
She offers it for Flavia to be able to touch it.
Flavia reaches out, runs her fingertips across the material. She finds it very luxurious to her touch. Obviously doesn't have much experience in wearing the finest textiles in life.
You realize that what you're holding in your hands could easily pay for a ship voyage back to Rome from here. Easily, for all of you. And she's treating it like it's just something else to wear.
This is truly exquisite.
Yes, the pattern is quite well done. The local employees that we hired have done a tremendous job.
Have you given thought of using such material in your tapestries, Mistress Helena?
Oh, I've grown bored with that. The merchants told me that in the Far East they do create wonderful tapestries for the walls out of these materials and rugs. So it can be done. I just find that it's not something I wish to do.
Have you given thought that perhaps to perhaps leave for the east to see what else they might be hiding there? What more experiences they might provide? If this is what they have allowed to come to us, what else they might still be keeping close to their chest?
She glances at Prius for a second. And then she just kind of looks back and she's like, I've been there. Been there, done that. I've gone as far east as I wish to go. And she looks at you and she says, what about you? Why not you go?
Perhaps in the future, as it stands, I have too much put in the Mediterranean in order to just abandon it all. The feeling of losing everything is not a pleasant one, and I'd rather not have to go through it again.
You were there when I lost my island, so you understand my pain.
My loss is nothing near the magnitude of yours, but when I found myself imprisoned by the Carthaginians, the word that I came back to was much of what I had left behind was there no more, so let us just leave it at that, yes?
There's a quick eye flick that goes to Flavia. Time does not dull all wounds. Sometimes it inflicts them.
Flavia nods, but doesn't say anything. She wonders how much Helena can actually read into her past. without her saying anything about it, basically.
Yeah, she kind of looks, and Prius is like, okay, I believe the mistress has other things to do tonight. One of the servants comes up to takes the cloth, and he says, "Here, I will escort you out. I'm sure you have other things to do."
We do. And thank you for making time to see us once again, Mistress Helena.
Yeah, she's got this expressionless look on her face, just like she's already off thinking about the next topic. So he escorts you guys out.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, Flavia would wait until they're being escorted out of earshot, and she asks Albina if she got everything she wanted out of this meeting, because Flavia suspects that she didn't.
I did, yes.
And what was the point of us looking at the cloth? Would have been nice if we walked away with a fine piece like that. Helena didn't seem to be too focused on it. I think she would have parted with it.
I was curious about it. About to tell the fate of what she had what she had done with what I provided her with. And I wish to show you this cloth that had enamored and gotten the attention of the likes of Helena. I thought perhaps you might appreciate it. And seeing as you already have your your future open for you after the success that you enjoyed tonight, I thought perhaps this might make acquiring this some goal that you might wish to pursue.
To be honest with you, I feel a lot of apprehension when Helena is around. She's a very, very powerful woman. And I don't really know yet how to tread my path around her. Earlier, when she and I spoke, I truly felt like an idiot child. She knows so much. And I felt like I lacked the basic understanding, trying to figure out what it was she was after with asking me questions about my sire, and then she took me to this interesting set of benches, which half of them pleased me and half of them made me want to vomit if I was still human. It was not pleasant to look at. And it seemed like it was too simple of a venture, almost, to have me realize how our clan feels about beauty, and how we feel about good versus bad. All these things are still rattling around in my brain. I'm really not sure what her purpose was, other than to confuse me even more than I already am, but I will tell you this much. She seems like a woman who always has an alternate game. I wish I knew where she played. And then she just falls silent with that statement.
I am not fully aware of what went between you and her earlier, about the discussion that the two of you had. But I believe that it is something. She's an old vampire, a very old vampire, and one that has done many, many things. To the point where most of them lose the sensation behind them. They become the most extreme, become routine. And I believe that you, as a by all by all uh, by all measures, a neonate of the clan, I believe that she wanted to recapture some of those sensations that she used to enjoy by asking you about them.
I believe I disappointed her.
Why?
Just had this feeling like I did not give her the responses she was hoping for. I can't really put my finger on it.
What responses do you think she was hoping for?
I don't know that either. If I did, then I would have given different ones than I did. But I'm afraid that everything she asked, I seem to give very base answers to. Someone as complicated or as complex as Helena perhaps was looking for a spark of freshness or brilliance from a young vampire. And I wonder if she found any. I would like to hope she had. But she is nothing like the rest of the coterie. It's very hard for me to judge her, or figure her out, rather.
Would you like to ask her yourself?
I fear that such questions would only bring on more questions. I'm sure you're familiar with talking with people in the past that speak in riddles, more or less. That's what it feels like when I speak with her sometimes. Granted, I only had the one conversation, but still. It made me feel very much out of my depth, I can tell you that right now.
Do not be afraid of being out of your depth, for we almost struggle to find our footing when we dive into new pools. We almost struggle to find where we can go and and to find where the floor lie the seabed lies when we go
Yes,
deeper.
new footing. Speaking of which, I don't know what you were all doing while I was off on a brief stroll with Helena, but if by any chance you had an opportunity to discuss what is to be done about the one known as Valoronius, I hope that you will keep myself and Lucius in the loop. Because that's another situation where I don't think either of us would want to be caught flat-footed.
I mentioned with you the affairs with Lucian, did I? I believe yes, with you and Lucius.
out of character, I think that Flavia was still meditating on a bench while everything was being discussed between the rest of the coterie, and I'm not sure where Lucius was.
You've heard it by now.
Okay.
You've all heard it. Yeah.
Okay. So yes. Have there been any new developments, and is there anything in particular you would like me to do or not do to help in your endeavor?
We need to find the things that could tempt Lucia into seeing things our way. If you'd have any suggestions on this matter, they would be greatly appreciated.
Well, if it comes to things like knowledge or wisdom, I am sure you are aware that I have only as much or as little as I have been taught with the coterie and in the presence of Alexander, of course. So I don't know if you can count on me in that respect. Is he a collector of fine things, perhaps? I do have among my personal effects some tokens of quote unquote love that were bestowed upon me by my departed sire. Some of them quite nice pieces. Maybe he would be interested in acquiring one of them if he's a collector.
No, I doubt that very much. He is highly territorial, and he is a killer. I believe that what would interest him the most would be those things that would help him to ensure the security of his land and to assist him in destroying his enemies.
And who are his enemies? Is anyone we know?
Last a few decades ago, that was Valeronius. But as to the current situation between them, he has no greater desire to pursue Valeronius' extermination. Well, at least not to the point where he'll be willing to spend great effort or sacrifice in order to achieve it. Not if he can secure his compliance in other ways.
But this Valeronius, has he been laying low or has he been trying to usurp his domain?
I am not aware of what is Valeronius' latest dealings in regards to that.
But what? I don't know. It seems like a far-fetched plan, but what is the possibility of something like that usurping one's domain, being staged and making it look like it was Valeronius who was behind it? A decisive move, a physical move that could not be denied, thereby spurring Lucian into more decisive action, perhaps, then he would be more keen on accepting our offer of getting rid of Valeronius and perhaps offering his help as well.
That's possible. We need to find ourselves a way to have it appear that Valeronius is making a move at him.
Perhaps this is something that you might want to talk to my friend Lucius about. He is a trained soldier and he is well versed in subterfuge. He might have an idea. I am just a playwright, after all.
Yes, That's a good plan. Something to look into. I'll speak to Lucius and the rest of the coterie.
Okay, well, I suppose we can return to the others. Unless you have any pressing business in the vicinity.
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay. So I have to admit to you, I am getting a little bit peckish and, well, I really don't know what to do about that, given that we were only offered a small amount of food since we arrived here. I don't suppose you have any ideas.
I have not brought any cattle with me, but I believe that friend of yours, Lucius, did brought some for himself, yes?
Yes, actually, now that you mention it, I think he brought extra.
Then perhaps checking with him would be the best way to see if you are able to get a bite.
Excellent. I should have thought about that myself. And she suddenly starts walking a little bit faster, even though she may not necessarily know where she's going, but trying to retrace their steps back from where they came, not all the way back to Colosseum or whatever venue they were in at, but back to the villa they were staying.
Okay. Yeah, you guys all meet up there. It's probably about 2 o'clock in the morning by now. The city itself is quieted down significantly. Yeah, so you guys are all back at your home base for the moment. Anybody have anything they need to do or talk about?
I'm going to bring forth to the rest of the coterie the idea of perhaps arranging for the staging of an attack by on Lucian, something to press him into accepting.
That is a very dangerous proposition.
Especially when you're trying to trick an elder.
Dangerous, yes, but not something we should abandon. It might be something we don't know some of Valeronius' other people, yes? Some of his other vassals and clients, I believe, yes?
Yeah, he doesn't have too many, but he does have some in Rome.
Does a status has the ability to assume other people's shape, other people's appearance? Or in
That
fact, anyone has that ability?
sadly I don't.
Anyone else?
I don't have obfuscate. To be fair, it's probably something Labiana would love to learn later on down the track.
I believe it's crucial for you.
Indeed. Have to start some negotiations with some Nosferatu.
What am I doing here? I know obfuscate.
Do you have level 3?
Working on it. Guess I will have the same problem as you in a couple of years.
Ah.
If perhaps not if perhaps not relying on obfuscate, then other more traditional means of trickery might be required. Disguising as one of his guards. And even if the attack is not done against the attack does not need to be done against Lucian himself, just against his property, his belongings. Indeed, so the better if it isn't done against himself, and we only have some other kindred as witness, some other kindred that might be less able to discern such matters.
Maybe it could be something as simple as staging a tavern brawl with having some of Lucian's people making a move on the food that Valeronius's people are trying to enjoy. I'm not really sure how to go about that, how to fake that, but certainly the simpler we go, the better, if we go with such a plan.
Who do we know if Valeronius has brought with him a herd? Has brought his staff with him?
He has brought several ghouls with him that you know of. If he has a herd, you haven't seen it, but he does have that ship just a couple hours away.
Do his staff, his ghouls, seems to have carry any specific form of heraldry or uniform that would signify them as being part of Valeronius' staff?
No, you just recognize them by sight. Yeah, you've been around him enough and you've seen him enough to know, kind of recognize the main people that are with him all the time, or that appear quite often with him. So, and this is the same with quite a number of the other Cainites of status or power in Rome. You kind of recognize their main people on site.
Would Lucius have submerge directive?
Probably. You might think so if you're pretty sure he's a La Sombra.
No, I mean Lucius. Lucius has submerge.
Oh, Lucius. I don't know, Lucian, do you? Or Lucius, do you? Dominate, dominate, dominate.
It would be level 4. Then no.
Dominate level 4 is conditioning.
Oh yeah, it is?
Yep. You're thinking
Oh.
V5.
Yes. Or maybe V20. Whatever the case, yeah.
I'm presuming we're in our lodgings right now?
Yes. But, yeah, essentially you can use level 2 and level 3 dominate to imitate Submerge Directive.
I'm just wondering if it's probably too late to use what's it called again? The Den of the Damned?
I would assume that you use that as a matter of course.
Yeah, she's probably going to start making a habit of doing that before having such discussions.
Yeah, this is a very sensitive discussion. Astardus has looked for some spiritual spies and stuff, but he doesn't see any. So
Yeah, it's just it does require rolls. That's what I was asking.
I think I have an idea. Lucius could use his obfuscate to uh, stalk one of Valeronius' guys until he is by himself, until he is in a relatively vulnerable position. He could then try to use dominate on him and try to implant the command on him to uh, attack one of Lucian's guys, or try to sabotage or harm Lucius in some way. Lucius people is in some way.
But what would stop Valeronius from stepping in and saying that his guy was dominated after this altercation came to light?
Very
Perhaps.
little. It would be depending on to be Valeronius' words and what he might be able to pick out of the guy through his own dominating perhaps some aspects.
Albina, I'm not so familiar with the intricacies of dominate, but can elders rearrange thoughts? I know they can rearrange thoughts. They can also take the information that is hidden and know that somebody was dominated.
I don't.
So he will be able to find out that his guy was dominated.
Unless the guy happens to die in the attempt to sabotage Lucian's belongings.
I was just thinking of that actually. None of his men would be able to survive the encounter. They would all have to die.
But Lucius is a wise man, and he would know that if Valerianus really wanted to strike at him, he would not come with just one only guy to do it. Now, while an idiot, Valerianus is a smart man, so he will not risk it while in Pompeii. They are not dumb.
No, nobody says that Valoronius is stupid. That does not apply to all of his minions, though. And frankly, there's been many examples throughout history where someone's minion does something exceedingly stupid, landing the bigger guy in hot water. Sort of like a domino effect that you don't expect to have higher repercussions. But sometimes they happen.
Like a
That
ripple in a pond.
that tend with I can say at least that with bound servitors that it you tend to more often have the opposite problem. So it would need to be someone that, well, if we want to pin it on someone, it needs to be someone who Valoronius would not keep bound. For such people often lose much in the way of individual initiative.
Not necessarily. Sometimes the bound can lead the one to take too much initiative in the attempt to please the patron. Might make someone go out of the way in order to achieve something that they believe will earn them the favor of the patron.
But I believe that would be better done without dominating them. Let's just say you drop the hit that You believe Valerus would be pleased if Lucius was removed. So if anybody can pin it to you, you can say you just said it. You didn't force the guy to do it. Because my problem is as soon as you just dominate, you are the one that did it. And the elders would not care who did it. It's you the one who orchestrated the whole thing. So do you think we can just drop the hint at what would happen and that will make the guy go attack? Or what?
I believe that presence would be the best way to do this, to make someone believe that this is their own desire, their own idea.
That will ensure that they know you gave them the idea, though.
You gave them the idea, but they acted on it. You merely commented that there is a field between his patron and Lucius and Lucian. You merely told them of one of the possible weak points of Lucian, one of the points that he could be struck at, and he decided to do the rest.
What?
Or perhaps they are going about it the wrong way. Perhaps we should make it Valerius think that he is on the track of by Lucius.
An indirect approach.
If we can make Valerius think that he needs to act against Lucius, he will do so.
Less of a chance of it being traced back to us.
There is always a risk, isn't there?
Always. Always better to try and minimize the risk.
So how will we go about doing that?
We know for a fact that uh, Lucian is an accomplished La Sombra. If I was perhaps to send one of my talents to spy on Valeronius, I perhaps use some of my powers against Valeronius. Valeronius might come to the conclusion that it is Lucian behind it.
Liking the way you're thinking. Because
I-
Valeron. Go
I
ahead.
do not. I honestly do not believe that this avenue is going to work out. If you all are insistent on it, then I will do my best to support, of course, but I feel I should make my objection known. This feels like too much. This feels like too much risk for the potential gains.
So what do you propose then, Hatshepsut?
I believe that trying to figure out a simple approach of figuring out something Valerius wants from us is ultimately to at least provide the building blocks of the safest solution.
Okay, before we go in, if we take Hatshepsut's course, what what each one of us are willing to lose? What's the maximum that you're willing to pay in this endeavor? Because that is Valerian's tactic. He's gonna put you on the spot where you do not have time to contemplate, and he will have the advantage to get the most out of the situation. It's better we know beforehand what we will negotiate with. Let's start from there.
Well, if I may be frank, for me personally, I think anything more than a life boon, which I already owe, is out of the question.
So you're basically willing to give up anything for it then.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't believe I have anything worth more than a life boon to be able to offer. Out of character, she's obviously being modest, because there's probably some knowledge she has that he may or may not potentially want.
And I look at Hatshepsut.
I admit, trying to think of a specific thing to offer him is tricky. Out of character, Chris, would it risk anything to try and get another horoscope out today?
No, you have plenty of time.
Okay, I would like to attempt it to build on last time's successes.
All right. Well, let's. It's pretty cloudy out, but otherwise clear. So you're going to need to remove the clouds so you can see the stars. And cast your horoscope.
Okay, spend the blood to make the willpower roll. What would you say the level would be to
Level
clear
2.
this? Okay, so diff 5.
Excellent. The skies, after a few moments, a strong breeze in the upper atmosphere picks up, and the clouds begin to swiftly whoosh move out of the way, exposing clear stars.
Alright, now wits wisdom. 3 successes. Oh, same as last time. And intelligence enigma. 3 successes.
Okay. You get asked 3 questions.
Okay. What might Albina have that Valoronius would desires.
The stars and the patterns indicate the word for mother, which you understand to be leverage on her sire.
I see. What might Labiana have that he desires?
The answer is unclear. He hasn't given it that much thought.
And finally, what might Astartes have that he desires?
The stars indicate mentor. Something about one of his mentors, or possibly a would-be mentor.
Interesting. Alright, I will take that knowledge. Go back to the others and say, one thing I know for certain is that Valoronius seeks leverage on Albina's sire. Whether we can do anything with that is another issue. But, Astartes,
Yes.
do you currently have anyone that is tutoring you on anything?
Out of character, Chris. Do you have somebody in mind?
You can roll your wits plus your politics at diff 7, and Lucius can roll his intelligence and politics at diff 7. Or you can roll your path rating at diff 4, Astartes.
Can I do both of them?
Nope, one or the other.
I'm gonna try my path rating at the 4 then.
Okay. Alright, well, Lucius, that was just a knowledge check to see if you had been taught this, and apparently you haven't. So, no biggie. Astartes, when she says mentor, the first face that pops into your head is of Julia Antasia. Your mentor on humanity.
And is there some friction between them that I'm aware of?
Well, that's what Lucius could have told you if he'd passed the roll, but he can't, so... He didn't pass the roll, he hasn't been taught.
I look at perception. The only mentor that I have is Julius Anastasia. But what could Valeronius want with her?
Potentially same as with what he wants on Albina's sire. Leverage.
Why?
Who knows, perhaps they have some sort of feud.
So, Avina, are you willing to endanger your sire in that way?
Out of the question.
Pat, can you cast another horoscope?
Do you have something in mind?
Well, Julia Anastasia is not my sire. I do respect her a lot, and I would like to know if Valerianus will actually use this information to harm her in a lethal capacity or not. Like that. There's something I can also do that can provide the information, but I'd rather not deal with the consequences here in Pompeii.
Would I have time to attempt one last one?
Yeah, it's going to be about the last thing you guys do tonight, though. With this and a little bit of discussion. And then it'll be the next night.
Alright. While I'm at it, might as well just take suggestions on any other questions.
Well,
Would the Valeronius fight? Would Valeronius find himself lash out at Lucian if he believed himself to be if he was believe himself to be under attack? Or perhaps how distrustful Valeronius of how distrustful Valeronius and Lucian are of each other.
Alright, I think I can figure out something with that.
I
Alright.
hold on. I have another me question you can ask. What would Helena feel about becoming our patron if we could stay here in Pompeii?
I suppose I can have that, yes. Alright, to work.
perhaps one other thing.
Oh.
I was going to say, you don't have to ask this, but perhaps if the opportunity arises, it would potentially be handy to know perhaps any, or if Valoronius has any dark secrets that he wants nobody to know about.
Can you find that out with your powers, Successful?
I might be able to figure out that he has a secret. Beyond that, who knows? Alright.
As instead of my question, as that I'm willing to risk the backlash of my power if we can find any confirmation from that one.
Fuck.
Uh-oh.
You attempt to cast the horoscope and you realize it really hasn't changed since the last one.
God damn it. God damn it, no signal.
So you still get to use your accurate ability. You're just basically use information. So trying
I
to
can just imagine
glean, just trying to glean something a little bit else. So
Oh, well, I failed the,
failed the step 2 roll. Yep. So
I'm
you
just in my mind. I'm just hearing a busy signal. Beep beep beep.
I am surely the medium. No courage fans in here. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, courage, cowardly dog. Surely the medium.
it's been
All
a while
right.
since I watched that.
Hatshepsut, you wait for the visions to overtake you, and nothing really happens. You look up at the sky and you realize the moon is going low and the sun is soon to crack the horizon, so not
I
enough time to do anything else.
I just get distracted. I get distracted as well by just one constellation I never noticed before that looks kind of weird.
Yeah, apparently the Taurus sign is pretty high in the sky, and you don't know why. Or maybe you do.
I look at Hatshepsut. Is this a blood magic application that you're using?
Not quite. It's it uses some of the same bodies of law, but it is not really blood magic. As I said, I had the beginnings of this ability, even a bit before I was embraced.
Interesting. But given your expression, I believe it didn't go so well the last time.
Indeed, perhaps I have overused it recently. It seems that we will have to figure this out on our own.
All right. Um, as you guys prepare yourselves for the upcoming sunrise, Stardust, I need you to roll me a d4. A 1. All right. You awaken all the next evening. Take one more blood point off of your blood pools. And Stardust, the first thing you notice is that Barrack Balls is sitting there, and he looks kind of shaken up.
I'll walk over to him, touch his shoulder. What happened, my friend?
He says, "Well, I went to go watch the fight, and it was so unusual. They had to prod her out of the into the fighting pit. She didn't want to do anything. I've never seen anyone going into a fight and just be prepared to just throw down their weapon because they were lethargic. And then once it began, after her first couple of cuts, it was like somebody opened a gate on a dam, and all the emotion came flooding out. And we joke that she was feral, like a feral animal, but she was truly feral. She threw her weapons to the ground and attacked with teeth. And unfortunately, she was so crazy and feral that she had to be severely hurt to get her to stop. I don't know if she's even alive right now.
Are the others in the room with us?
Yes.
I look at Hatshepsut, Alvina, and Laviana, and also Flavia.
Labia in turn looks over at Astartes.
Somebody has messed with her.
Or
The effects of the blood bond is not supposed to be this severe.
Out of character. Um, is it possible for ghoul is it possible for ghouls to frenzy?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, she.
I I will bring this up. Could it be that she simply had the misfortune to succumb to a frenzy?
Yeah, I believe the last part was the frenzy, but the first part where they had to take her out of where she was. She did not want to fight. That is the strangest part. But it could also be that that frenzy was enhanced.
How?
Well, that's the part that I'm not so sure about.
Also, how blood bonded was she at that point?
Last night I gave her the second drink.
I'm
Was
guessing that's, well, out of character, do we know if that's, well, it's probably not common, but do we know if that kind of thing's happened before?
It's been one of those. I knew a guy who knew a guy who heard this happen before, sort of tales about ghouls. Just going crazy. So it's been said, one of those campfire tales. Gotta watch out for those crazy ghouls, man. They'll turn on you in a heartbeat. But it's always been kind of a fairy tale.
look at the park. Well, are you prepared to put her down if she endanger our lives? Look at the rest of you. I believe we should go visit her if she's still alive. See what actually happened.
We should see if we can figure something out.
Out of character, is this our final night here, or how much time do we have for
Yes,
the whole?
this is the final night.
So,
The closing ceremonies will be a little bit after midnight, and then it's time to begin departing. So you have approximately 3 to 4 hours to do whatever it is you're going to do.
so we actually have to leave tonight. So, guys, what are we gonna do? We cannot get distracted. We can either pursue this incident or deal with the whole Valeronius thing. What do you guys propose?
Valerianus is our priority.
Yes, which is your bigger liability?
Need.
Okay. Then how we're gonna deal with Valeronius? Valeronius, are we gonna ask him what he wants, what he requires from each of us, and see if his deal is acceptable?
He only truly requires something from. He can only truly ask for something from either you and Laviana.
But he might ask for the information in exchange for lowering our life wounds or getting rid of them.
No, yeah, but
That is what I meant last night when I spoke is what each one of us is willing to pay. And do you owe Valeronius any boons, Alvina?
some major boons.
Okay. If I can recall, Alexander wanted all boons repaid. Out of character, is that correct, Chris?
He wants the life boons for sure repaid. They have to be cleared.
We might be able to grovel our way through the major one.
Or we might lower the life boons to a major boon, but that might involve all of us as a coterie. Are you guys still willing to pay that price?
Know what the price is first.
Guys, I'm being called away. I'm not
Yep.
sure how long I'll be.
That's all right. Well, it is that time. So let's wrap it up for tonight. We will pick this back up in 2 weeks. And that gives us plenty of time to chat and discuss a plan and come up with what we're going to end up doing. And if we haven't decided, we'll, of course, pick it up in 2 weeks to chat verbally. So everybody
Sounds
get
good.
yourself an experience point for tonight. And if you have to log off, have a great weekend.
Gotcha.
Good night.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate your time. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll pick this up again for next session. We'll see how they do and see if they can come up with a plot to get them out of Olling Valoranius their very lives. So, once again, guys, thanks and have a great evening.